Okay. What's really funny is I just recorded a video called Community, What Community? So I've gone from my kind of traditional, I'm having a rant about something to do with the LGBT scene, to actually completely stripping that away and being brutally honest as I begin this documentation of a big journey in my life. So as you will see from the title of this video, I am about to embark, if that is the word, set sail, into IVF treatment. And this channel is not like other channels. It is not a vlog. I do not go around kind of trying to talk about my life and what I'm going through, because I don't think it's important or anyone really cares. But when it gets to something political or helpful within it, I feel it is important to share. And originally I thought there's no way I'm documenting any of this, but as I'm going through the process, I'm realizing how many problems and issues and misinformation there actually is, particularly for gay people. So I thought I'm going to document this as I go along. And if, you know, in a year's time I want to release it, then I can, because I'm hoping it will help somebody else out there. So my partner and I have talked about having a family for a long time, we've been together 6.5 years, probably for the last 3 years. We've kind of ummed and ahed about it. Kept putting it off, we'll save a bit more money, we'll move house, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do more within our career. That's certainly not isolated to an LGBT issue. I think that's something all individuals or couples go through. You just wait that bit longer. We've been to so many information sessions. We've been to loads of information sessions at the adoption agency, and then we started going to information sessions on IVF and using a donor. And it started off at the beginning with our heads kind of like not being in the zone or understanding anything. You know, like our first visit to a fertility clinic, we went up to someone at the end to ask questions. We said, how's the child going to cope when it doesn't know who the father is? And they shut us down immediately and were like, you don't use the term father. This person is not a father. It is a donor. He is a donor. So it's taken a long time for us to even get into the discourse and the mindset, and that, which is quite funny because we're gay, so you'd think we'd already be with the discourse, and we certainly were not. I think we are now, so we're getting there. And there's loads of really helpful videos from gay and straight people online that talk through the IVF process, and I've kind of exhausted myself. I watch them almost every day when I'm getting ready, just to find a bit of more information. Any nugget of information I will take. But what I really struggled to find was something very coherent that talks through from the absolute, first thing you do all the way to the end. And so this is what I'm going to do. This is chapter 1, obviously. And hopefully as I go through this journey, I can just put up little tips and little advice of problems we've encountered that hopefully will help somebody else out there. So the absolute first thing we had to do was go and get blood tests done by our GP. And these are kind of hormone blood tests that show where your body's at, where you're at, and you have to have this done before you can then refer yourself to a fertility clinic. So that in itself turned out to be a right faff. We got the blood tests done about 2 years ago, and then kind of sat on them. The blood tests were fine, and we didn't do anything. We postponed and waited another year. Then we had to go and have the blood tests done again when we thought, no, we're going to go for it this time. And our hormone levels had changed. My prolactin levels were too high. My partners were like off the scale. Apparently it's linked to stress. And it's one of those moments where they say, are you stressed? And you think, who the bloody hell isn't in this day and age? And so there was a lot of going around. Then I had to refer myself privately. So actually to get my prolactin levels down just to the point where I could have these basic blood tests and refer myself went on for about 6 months. So that was very stressful. Anyway, once you've got these initial blood tests done, you can then refer yourself to a private fertility clinic. Obviously, we are paying everything for our IVF treatment. You don't get it funded on the NHS as a same-sex couple. Once we were then referred to the private clinic, we then had more blood tests to check what's called our AMH levels. And these give an indication as to what your egg reserve is. So this was really interesting considering we don't have any kind of known fertility issues. And mine came back, I was fine. I was kind of above average, but what was interesting was I was lower than my partner. My partner's a year older than me. She is 33, I am 32, and I was at a 15 and she was at a 19, which was quite funny. But as you'll constantly be told throughout this process, it's not about quantity, It's about quality. You can have someone who has a very low number of eggs, but they're really good quality. You can have someone who has, you know, off the scale loads of them, but they're all kind of useless and they're of no quality at all. So once we'd gone through those blood tests, we then had to have a consultation with the doctor to talk through who was going to do the treatment, what our plans were, how we were kind of functioning. And in the background, we are searching for a donor, and we were doing this for about 2 or 3 months, and this proved much more complicated than I ever could have imagined. I'm going to do a separate video on searching for a donor because this to date has been the most difficult part for us. Obviously, it's a very difficult part ethically and morally and making sure medically as well that you're getting everything right. But in terms of the information out there and the overload of confusion, it's blown my mind. So I'll hopefully make another video about that. But the search for the donor has caused the most problems to date. Every time we found a donor that we really liked, there would be a problem in terms of their genetics, family medical history, whatever it may be. And in the end, you kind of had to let that person go, which is a shame. It's almost like the most bizarre and horrific form of online dating. You're sitting there for hours daily going through profiles and thinking, how the hell am I meant to choose? This is not something anyone ever prepares you for. This is certainly not something they teach you in sex education at school. And then after we'd had this consultation and thought we were ready to move forward, there were issues again to do with donors that meant that we had to move clinics, which disrupted our treatment and kind of pushed back our time scale a bit. Long story short, we thought we wanted a donor from America, which I don't think is now happening, but the fertility clinic we were using did not cater for this to happen. They didn't work with American sperm banks, so we then had to move to another clinic which did cater to this. And ironically, when we were looking for another clinic, the one that we found was much closer to home than the one we were originally going to, which we had no idea was actually there. So we are now saving ourselves a lot of time. Originally, it was taking us kind of 2 hours to get to the clinic and back. Now we've moved, it's taking kind of half an hour there, half an hour back, so it's so much easier. So we just got into 2020, and literally on the 2nd of January, exactly the way you want to start the new year, we're going to the new clinic. We've obviously transferred our files from the old clinic over, but the first thing we have to do at the new clinic is a scan, which is called a transvaginal scan, and they basically scan you inside to check your ovaries to see how many follicles you have, which again is giving an indication as to the amount of eggs they're likely to get from you. So I marched down on the 2nd of January to do this, which is very nice. I was a bit worried about it, but actually it was absolutely fine. It did not hurt at all. The nurse was lovely and there was no problems. So that was all looking good, and there wasn't any issues picked up by this scan. And again, it indicated that my egg reserve, it looked like I had about 13 follicles, and which is fine. Again, it's not mega high, it's not, you know, too low, but what's really hit me in this process is, thank goodness I haven't waited. When you get into your 30s, and especially when you're kind of teetering up to your mid 30s, things do start to change, levels start to drop, it becomes a lot more difficult. And I think it's really hard for women in any capacity, where, especially when you're working, you wait and you push, you think, I just want to give my career a bit more, I just want to earn a bit more money, I just want my own freedom to do things. I think this is quite symbolic of our generation, and my advice would be, do the things you want for yourself, but don't wait too long, because I look at myself in the mirror and I think, I don't look that different to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And then suddenly you think, actually, maybe I do. I have aged, and my hormone levels, what the doctors are finding out, certainly show that things are not getting better. They're only going to get more difficult, which is a bit of a tough pill to swallow. But don't wait, get started, because I'm fully aware now I could either be pregnant at the end of this year, or this could be the start of a 2-3 year process of pain and misery for me, which may not end in a pregnancy at all. So that's something to bear in mind. Don't wait, because time waits for nobody. And I forgot to say, one other thing they made us do was go to a counselling session, and we did this actually at our first clinic that we went to. It is mandatory, you have to go through it if you're using donor sperm or going forward to being a donor yourself, which I also wanted to do. And you just have to talk through kind of how you're feeling. I'm not really into counselling myself, but actually the counsellor was lovely, and it was just a really kind of informal conversation. She gave us some very helpful information leaflets, and yeah, that was it. So that's also a necessary part of the process, particularly for same-sex couples. So then after this scan, we went to see the consultant in our new clinic just to talk things through again. As you will have established, it is me that is going forward to try this IVF, and we hope that my partner will then try IVF with the same donor later down the line. And again, we thought we'd found the donor we wanted, literally 100% sure. We really liked his profile, what he'd said, how he kind of pitched himself. There was just one small issue in his genetic testing that we thought could be clarified, and unfortunately we found out yesterday that it's not as simple as it looks, and if we were to get clarification on that, we would have to see a geneticist, and that takes a lot of time, costs a lot more money, and you may not get any kind of black and white answers at the end. So the best thing to do is to let that donor go and start again. So really gutted, because we thought we could be starting treatment within the next kind of few weeks, in the next month, and obviously we can't do anything until we found a donor. So that's the stage we're at now. That is, I guess, the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2 will begin when we've actually found a donor, ordered the sperm, and then can get some clarification on treatment. So hopefully by the next video I will know who this donor is going to be and know a bit more about them, which is obviously personal. I won't be sharing that, but it is really important that you're getting things right, and not just in terms of liking the profile of the person, because this is someone that's inevitably going to come into our lives at some stage, but also medically, in terms of family history, trying to do things as right as possible for a potential future child. And something else which has shocked me to date is that I haven't even started treatment. Nothing has started. All I've done is gone through tests and a lot of talking, and my mind is already mega blown. It sits with you all day, every day, and work is a blessing during times like this. It's really good to keep busy and have distractions, and throw yourselves into those distractions. But I just kind of find myself at different times of the day just kind of staring into space thinking, what the bloody hell is going on? And even one of my blood tests I had, it was absolutely fine, didn't hurt, no problem. Had a million blood tests in my life, never been an issue. And I'd gone to work the next day, had a jacket on or whatever, took the jacket off, and my whole arm, literally all here, was purple and green. I'd never had a bruise at all in my life from a blood test, but literally half my arm had, and I quickly covered up, because you start to think people are going to notice, what are they going to say, what excuse are you going to give? So that's all very stressful, just trying to keep it a secret and only tell people in your very close circle, because obviously it's personal information, she says, making a video to show the World Wide Web. But obviously by the time these videos are released, I will certainly be at the end of the journey. It will not be something I upload as I go along. So I hope chapter 1 is of some help to somebody out there. And if you're going through it and you're in your first chapter, best of luck. I am so with you right now. And if your mind is blown, I completely get you. Thank you for listening. I guess I will see you in chapter 2. Bye.